Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Today's Friday, December the 9th, and this is Between Two Teachers, where we give you the latest information about what's happening in education, both national and state, and our local, which is very busy right now. And we have a lot that we want to share today, so we're going to get right to it. My name is Consuelo Lara.
And I'm Madeline Cronenberg. And as always, I will begin with our land acknowledgement. We pause to acknowledge that we have gathered on the ancestral territory of Huichin, part of the unceded land of the Chochenyo and Karkin speaking Muwekma Ohlone people. We remember their continued connection to this region and give thanks to them for allowing us to live, work, learn, and pray on their traditional homeland. We offer our respect to their elders and all Ohlone people of the past and present. And we encourage you to support justice for the Muwekma people who still need to be recognized as a federal tribe and get the benefits of being a federal tribe. So you can Google Justice for Muwekma. And also encourage all fourth grade teachers to revise how they're teaching the story of California missions and the California Native populations, and do that by going to the curriculum that's on the East Bay Regional Parks website. And so that is our commitment to the Ohlone people. I just wanted to talk about a couple of things. And the one most interesting thing, I think, statewide is there was a final decision made, an appeals just made around the vaccine. We haven't talked much about the coronavirus in a while because thank God it's been resolving itself. The issue for school districts was the vaccine mandates that some districts put forward. They were brought to court, and basically the appeals court in the first case, which was San Diego Unified's, the appeals court has held up the striking down of the mandates and said the mandates have to be issued by the health department and school districts don't have the authority to do it. That's what came down. And so that's sort of a decided legal issue now. And we have to rely on our health departments to come forward with mandates if that's what they decide to do. But so that's that story. What's the other one I was talking the two other small ones I want to talk about just before we get to what's happening locally is Uvalde. Uvalde, just to get back to safety, the world of safety. Uvalde has now had some big class actions filed, and there's a $27 billion class action that's been filed against the law enforcement entities who failed in their job and the school district and others. So this is the Uvalde story is not close to going away. And the one thing we can hope about to come out of the Uvalde massacre, which is of course what it was, is some real understanding of the fact that safety has to be discussed on a regular basis in all of our school settings.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
And when we don't do it, no one is served by not doing it, by making believe it's not an issue that the public cares about, because it's honest to God, the issue the public cares about more than anything. Yeah. And the stats, of course, are going to be, you're not as likely to have it happen. There are all these statistical things that people say, well, statistically, it's not going to happen. It doesn't matter. The fact is, everyone has internalized the fear and where we are as a community.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I just wanted to bring that up. But then go ahead. We'll go to the county.
At the county level, so we, three of us, board members went to San Diego and where the big CSBA conference was. Next year, it's going to be in San Francisco. So, and then we also have the county, California County Board of Education meetings also. And so that at that meeting, they had released the new book on the new trustee handbook. And I just have to read you this title: A Guide to Shared Governance for County Boards of Education. So this is a real paradigm shift. It's going to be some people might have mental breakdowns. You have to share the power. You have to work on partnerships and collaborations. And it's going to be really difficult for some people, but I trust we can do it. We can do it. I'm very positive that, and I'm really happy that this is the direction now we're going. And of course, it's coming from so many crisis things that have happened: the pandemic, the racial issues, the gun violence, economics. I mean, it's just been like this tsunami of things that have happened. We've got to do something different. And having collaborations, that's leadership, that's different. And I think that will really help. And that's what community schools are all about, and partnerships. So this is the way we need to go. And again, it's about shifting a paradigm shift in how you think about power and governance. So I'm really happy, thrilled about that. Oh, and then on Wednesday, I will be the gavel for to be the board president for the year.
Yes.
So, on the 14th, you can, dial in. And
Madam President, take over.
I am really happy. And my shout out to Sarah Butler, who really has prepared me for this role.
She's been an extraordinary board president.
Oh,
President Butler has done an extraordinary job for the entire year.
Absolutely extraordinary.
And she will continue to do an extraordinary job, because she was reelected by a great margin. And
yes.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, astounding. So yeah, so that's kind of my news there. And one thing that we're really concerned about is West Contra Costa School Board. Schools and our teachers. So they're in impasse right now. And our understanding is that there's just some people in negotiations who just don't understand. And these are new people, meaning they're new to our community. And so my question, and I know, Madeline, you were on that board for 12 years. So you know the community, and you've lived here for a long time, and you've had kids go through this. So you've lived through a lot of that history. But what is it that these new people do not understand? What is it?
I think that as we're looking at the next steps around coming to a successful negotiation of the contract, which is what everybody wants, what we really need to focus on is how to do really what you're talking about with shared governance, is to share it. What you wind up with is having this us and them conversation at the table, the contract, right? And so we're fighting at the table, at the negotiating table, the bargaining table, over X dollars, and we're into this battle with the people who we should be on the same side with. It shouldn't be what it evolves into. And it evolves into that because that's how labor has historically been done in the United States, right? But the only ones served by that are the labor attorneys. It works for them. Works for them, and they make more money. The longer you're on strike, the more money they make, right? The fact that you go on strike, they make more money. So you shouldn't be listening to them. They're not the group you should be listening to. What you should be doing is looking at your goals. And if you have a goal in your strategic plan or your mission, that you're going to have a place where people want to come to work, where you're going to attract and retain quality staff. If that is in fact your goal, then what you need to do is work together to do that. And you can do that by working, putting every dollar on the table, being really transparent with as much as you can about how you're doing that, and then looking for other sources of money, being advocates with your cities. We've got 5 cities in West Contra Costa. Those 5 cities have grant writers. They have electeds who want everyone here to succeed, who will work with us if we ask them, right? We have a county that will work with us. We have a county board of education, but we have county board of supervisors. We have the head of the state education system lives here, Tony Thurmond. There are a lot of people who could be brought in to help find answers and look at strategies to increase the dollars that are available for our teachers.
But are those new people? I mean, they're all wonderful people. I'm not saying anything bad about them, but they're new to our community. And those connections you just mentioned, a lot of us have known those people for years. And so that's kind of where it's
there hasn't been, those connections haven't been restarted, right? With the teams that we have now. And the other thing that hasn't happened is I honestly don't think there's a real understanding of the tragedy that a strike is.
Yeah, and you know the history of that.
I've been on strike. 4 times I was on strike.
So what happens?
And so what happens is your community is shattered, right? There is no trust, and it doesn't come back. When you think, well, it's over, it's over. No, it's like, this is not an easy thing. The trust does not get rebuilt. It's a devastating experience. And what you wind up with is things that I don't believe anybody is really thinking about. Are they thinking about, well, if you did go on strike, and understand our teachers have voted to do it. They've taken, all sorts of polls. The teachers are not feeling respected. The bargaining team clearly does not feel respected. So there's no effort for shared governance here. And this is all public. I'm not saying anything that has not come from a public meeting. What you wind up with is, in my experience, and I remember this from all the years ago that it was, is people are bussed in from other communities to cross a picket line to teach. And that happens because no one locally will cross the picket line because they know they will not be allowed to sub again. No teacher who is that disrespected would call somebody who would cross the line, right? You wind up totally shattered in terms of, and if anybody on your staff does cross the line, people remember that forever. Forever. It's not the kind of thing that goes away. And the kinds of things that you then have to do, the kinds of security steps that are taken, where they get bussed in, you wind up with security guards at every school to protect the children from their very own teachers. Right? Those ideas and how a strike is conducted and how expensive a strike is. And when you're saying how expensive is, the strikes cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. And who makes that money? The security guards make it. The scabs make it, the people who come in and cross the picket lines, and your attorneys.
And the lawyers.
And the lawyers. And if there's and if the lawyers make a mistake on either side, then you can bring in a judge and you can wind up having it resolved in court. We had one strike once that was resolved in court because there was an imperfection in the way something had been filed. The other side recognized the imperfection, so they called us back in. They called the strike. The strike was called off, even though it was not resolved.
Wow.
Because the lawyer had made a mistake.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and in the end, it will be settled. So it should have to go through.
And who's going to suffer the most are the students, our already vulnerable students who suffer already enough every day and have been, and we're trying to bring them back from this pandemic, and then you're going to dump a strike on them again. I mean, how it's
right.
meanness.
The other thing is shared governance, the community schools issue, which in this case is another issue, which is such a simple thing to
Oh my,
say. This is the idea of community schools, is that you are going to share your power, right? And when you
yes.
try to centralize power down in the central office, a place that will have administrators coming and going, which we certainly have seen. When a new superintendent comes in, that person builds their own team. And then when they're gone, they're gone.
Starts all
And
over.
superintendents do not survive strikes. Let me just tell you that. If there is a strike, it superintendents and board members, the people who are responsible
Yeah,
for bringing it, are not going to be able to just
Nope.
rebuild whatever they
that's
think
gonna
they're
be
gonna
their
rebuild.
legacy. That's gonna be their legacy when they leave.
Right. That is the strategic plan. There is no other. What did you do? You had strategy. This was your plan was to not. Your plan was to set it up so that your teachers had to go on strike.
And
Which
these
is what
community
they've done.
schools, yeah, the shared governance, the partnerships with the community. Again, we go back to the community schools. We have a history of that. We have a history of that. San Pablo and Richmond rescued some of the schools that were going to close. So again, knowing the history of community schools in our district, the history of the cities, participation in our schools, that our cities love their schools. That's one thing for sure. They don't want them closed and they want them rebuilt, and oh my gosh, you get so much support from the cities. So I mean, the community schools are something the students need and the community needs. And so to ignore that, it's just like I don't
So
understand.
what we need to realize that just as in at the county, shared governance is what it's all about. Collaboration is what it's all about. You don't need an us and them at the bargaining table. You need to work together. The community needs to know that you're working together and doing all the possible things you can to bring in additional resources. We're under-resourced, we know that, but we're not coming together as a team to try to build more resources. And that's what you're going to have to do. Otherwise, what you're going to have is this path towards a legacy of a very painful experience. You're going to have kids whose year is truly disrupted. It's just on top of COVID. If you have a strike on top of what we've lost in COVID, these children are not going to be well served, right? And there's
Yeah,
no
or
other way to say it.
yeah, or you could be a hero and you could really make a difference and be the person that turned around. There's a COLA going to be what is it, 12%?
Yeah.
Something like that, and that's for salaries. So it should be added on to what was already going to be offered. It should be a nice salary increase that will attract quality teachers and retain the ones that we have. We have to do this. And we need a champion here. We need a hero who's going to
We need them all to be champions, right? And we need them to rethink their role, right? And forget about the us and them, and say to the attorneys, all right, we understand what you're saying, but the truth is we have the funds to make it work with our teachers and to not disrespect them and everybody else. It just has to be something that becomes a priority, or otherwise all these other plans don't matter. No. Because what you will set in motion is a set of really painful actions that you can't walk back.
Nope. You can't say, oh, well, let's just move on. You're not going to be able to move on to anything. So we need a Christmas gift here.
Yes, yes. Gift. We need a Christmas gift. We need Santa to bring us a contract. We need our teams to rethink how the top-down approach, and how the top-down approach is not going to be the best thing for our families, right? Our families are going to know. Families are going to know if they have to start to decide whether or not to have their children cross the picket line. Just understand what you're setting up there. Just understand that it becomes a nightmare, and to even have gotten to the point where you are contemplating the possibility is a true disservice to everybody in the community. It just is a true disservice.
Yeah.
So let's rethink it. I know they're thinking about it all the time, but they need to start rethinking in terms of the bigger picture and who else is around to help.
Yes, absolutely. So now we hope we've contributed to help you understand, what the community needs and what would be the best choices. So,
Yes.
all righty.
So Between Two Teachers is here for you. We hope everybody, I don't think we may not be back for a few weeks. Probably not until January. So by that time, President Laura will have taken over. And hopefully by that time, the strike will have been averted and we can bring really happy news.
Good news. Yes, yes.
So till then.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.